There we go. Okay, so when last we left off, I believe our team of heroes from the village were preparing to venture southward. Let's see if I have any visual aids so we can look at our who we're talking
I have
about here.
a question before we set off.
Yes.
I was wondering if it would be possible to talk to Sinelma before we go. Or did we say that we already left?
No, you have not left yet. You
Okay.
definitely have not left yet. So yes, you can talk to Sinelma. What's is this Paiviki wants to have a word?
Yeah. I guess Paiviki wanted to check in with her and ask to find out if she doesn't feel, try to tactfully ask what actually happened to her partner who got, I guess, executed by our loving town mayor or whatever.
Yeah.
Mary.
So she was like, you want to know more than is common knowledge?
Well, what's the common knowledge?
Common knowledge is that Sinelmi's partner, Mina, who was the kind of housekeeper, stole some Corcayan silver coin and was found out. And the last word keepers that were here in the village took her away, ostensibly to execute her, but no one actually saw that happen. Everybody assumes that she's dead.
Oh.
It wasn't like a public execution or anything like that.
Oh. So that was a different word keeper.
Yes, right. They were earlier. There were for a brief period. There were two word keepers in the village.
Oh, so El Mary was one of them.
El Mary. Sorry, am I using the wrong terminology? No, El Mary is the word giver.
The word giver.
Right, and the word keeper. So the word keepers are like the police force essentially.
Right.
And El Mary is the local magistrate,
right,
who was appointed by the Corcayan.
Oh, so there were two word keepers, and they took her away.
Yeah.
So so the story goes that she had stolen from El Mary.
Yes.
Well, I guess Paiviki would want to ask her about that.
Okay.
And just try to kind of tactfully ask if what happened and how she feels about it.
Sure. That sounds like finding answers with charisma.
Okay. I rolled 12 plus 2, 14.
Okay. Yeah, so maybe you're over at Sinelma's place while she's distilling, or she's decanting some of the red stuff, and so in her cellar, maybe you help her move some like barrels of beet mash or something like that, because you're generally being helpful around, and you strike up a conversation with her and then through the conversation get to that point. And from Sinelma's point of view, I guess what is there anything specific you want to know, or just want to know if Sinelma's perspective is any different than the public knowledge.
Yeah, mostly that. If she um um yeah, feels like there was any kind of a setup or unfairness, or if she knows something about El Mary that she may not want to share necessarily with everybody.
The thing that she doesn't want to share, or that she's embarrassed about, so obviously she's angry. Was really distressed and sad and angry about the whole situation. But Mina did in fact steal money.
Mm-hmm.
Sinalma mentions how Mina had aspirations to nicer things, and Corcan silver was like has been relatively rare in the area, and the market values it highly, more than the green obsidian that you guys trade locally. So Mina did actually take the money, and Sinalma feels the sort of surface level is anger and resentment and deep sadness, and then behind that is this reluctant admission that her partner was a thief.
Yeah. Well, Paiviki tells her that that might be so, but that it didn't warrant the punishment, and that she's sorry too.
She just gives Paiviki a kind of grateful look that somebody's showing her kindness. And Sinelma, as has been mentioned, is has a short temper even before this thing happened, and is kind of a difficult person socially. So, but she just gives Paiviki a look of gratitude that she's showing kindness to her.
Well, I'll I'm not happy with the situation that we're in, and I want to see justice in our village, even for those who are guilty of something. They don't deserve that kind of thing.
Yes, but what can we do against these word keepers with their armor and their arrow throwers?
I think if we all put our heads together, we can figure it out. But
if anybody can do it, it would be you, Paiviki.
We're going away, and we'll hopefully when we come back, we'll have a plan. But keep thinking about it. Maybe you can come up with something too. We'll all put our wits together.
She goes over to a shelf and gets down a bottle of the long-necked bottle of the good stuff. It's like sealed with red wax, and she comes over and hands it to you for your journey.
Thank you.
Use it in trade or drink around the fire and remember Rayuna.
Thank you. All right. That was just lingering in my mind. I had this question.
Did that answer it?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's interesting that she got taken away. So.
Yeah, apparently head back towards the the capital.
Yeah. I wonder if she's still alive somewhere.
So what are Taimi's final preparations for this journey?
I think that Taimi would want to. In the past, Taimi has left Rayuna feeling comfortable leaving her things at the boarding house, but I think that she would be worried that the security of those items might not be guaranteed. That the word keepers might try to go in there and poke around, or they might disturb it, and so I think that she would probably take whatever she has, and if she has anything else, leave it maybe with Annika. If Annika has like a permanent dwelling, I don't know if she lives with her parents or if she lives in her own place, but she would clear out that room.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Annika's going with you guys.
Yes.
But you could certainly stow your stuff at her parents' house. That would be no problem.
Yeah. So I think she would take advantage of that. I think that's generally it. I don't know what other loose ends she's concerned about.
And then who's got the bracelet? Is the bracelet being brought with you or being left behind? Well, I guess I should just assume you guys have written down whatever you're bringing with you, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I was assuming that we would take it along, but I don't know what to do with the thing. It's demonic. Maybe we could make like a glove or something that we could put on so that it won't adhere itself to our skin.
Interesting.
Or like a leather bracer or something.
Okay, so you probably have that with you, you think?
Yeah, I have it written down unless somebody else wants to carry it.
Okay, great. Muirin, are there any final preparations that you take? Are you bringing all those books?
I think I was bringing one of the books.
Okay.
Sorry. Just the ancient Fenati one to study. But yeah, I think I have everything.
So you're leaving all the rest of the books behind?
Correct.
I have 3 books.
Oh, you do? Okay. That you're bringing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the whole village, most of the village turns out to bid you guys farewell on a fair spring morning. It's very cool, and the little river is shrouded in mist as you set off across the fields south of the village. There's sort of patches of pale purple and white wildflowers scattered about. The ground's very damp, and still a little. Well, down near the river, particularly, it's kind of more like a wetland. But it's like the kind of spring morning that fills you with excitement, especially that you're setting off on this sort of journey you will be going further south than any of you have been before. Apparently Durban has been to wherever you're going, but none of you has crossed the highlands before to go on this kind of journey. So you are setting out on this morning.
Does Durban have kind of a path laid out for us, kind of overall? Like at what point was he ensorcelled by the magician? Like, was he kind of like siren style, like, and maybe not remember the path that he took, or is he guiding us pretty thoroughly from?
He does not remember anything about the journey that he took.
Okay.
From the moment when he was off, sort of gathering wood, near his home village, that was the last kind of memory that he had. And then everything that happened in the cave, he's just pieced together from what Onikas told him. And, him and he's been learning to speak with Paiviki. So Paiviki and Durban can kind of communicate in a very kind of basic way. And so he's just going based on what you guys have told him about what happened.
Yeah. Would is there any interest in stopping by the cave or going in a southerly direction? I know that there was concern at one point that Onikas would be holding a grudge. At one point, we thought that he might be behind the bracelet, and I don't think that was outrageously like out of left field.
I have a certain fondness for the little guy, but Paiviki is still wondering about, she's putting all the gears together and still wondering about the possibility of enlisting the beast to come to the town's aid. But I don't know if we should mess with that unless we have a clear plan of how to do it or when to do it.
And now that I'm just saying it out loud, I'm realizing that if we kind of let the beast and Onikas know that we're not there, it could be like cats are away, mice can play sort of scenario.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe it's not good to advertise that we're gone. If our presence is something that is a deterrent to Onikas.
Okay. Well, if you're going to avoid or at least not make an express journey to the cave itself, heading south, you have two basic choices. You can go overland across the sort of more hilly highlands that looks like this, as you recall, or you can basically follow the little river that cuts through the landscape to the south. So that would make it harder to get lost because you'd be alongside the river. The drawback there is at this time of year, the river valley is often shrouded in a thick mist. So there might be some visibility issues. And I think there's not necessarily faster either way. It'll all depend on how the actual exploration goes. The river itself might, the river valley might, pose navigational challenges as well. But the advantage it presents is that it would always, you'd always be able to follow it downstream. And as far as you know, it just does flow, south. It may very well flow as far as you need to go. So between those two choices, I guess, yeah.
I have a book titled Rockworms of the Corcaean Highlands. Are these the Corcaean Highlands?
These are.
Oh,
yeah.
It
should not be called the Corcaean Highlands. I think in the process of the world building, these highlands existed before the Corcaean showed up.
Oh, okay.
So the title would be slightly different. We'll just call it Rockworms of the Highlands. Let's call it that.
Okay, Rockworms of the Highlands. Got it.
And yes, as far as your browsing of that book has determined that these are in fact the Highlands, and Taimi knows of the rockworms. They are known creatures to the hunters and trappers who venture, further away from the village.
Are they large? Are they something that I can take down, or is it something that I avoid?
They're generally something that you avoid. They are big. There is one. So in your language, they're called kivimato, the rockworms, and see if I have my. Here we go. Yeah, the biggest challenge that they pose is, so they're kind of they're sort of more like legless lizards than snakes. If you picture like a kind of Gila monster that just would kind of like slither along the ground. The biggest challenge is that they have these incredibly thick, scaly hides. So short of, hitting them in the mouth or an eye, your arrows are close to useless against them. That's the biggest, and they're also very, they have a natural camouflage, so they're hard to spot in the rocky landscape. I don't know if Timey's ever tried to kill one, but I will say that you've never been successful at doing so.
Yeah. I think that her pride is big enough that she would probably try if the opportunity came across, but I imagine that one person alone is not going to be able to take it down. And also, like, she probably wouldn't, just on her own, wouldn't be able to like create some sort of favorable situation for her to like be able to take it down on her own.
The ones you have seen are about the size of like an alligator.
Okay.
And they're pretty, I guess they're also somewhat slow, I guess. So there's that too. They're not the kind of predator that will come up on you real quick, but if they caught you off guard or you stumbled into them, they might be a problem.
Well, then, just based on this illustration that we have in front of us, it seemed like going in between these mesas and these plateaus would be more advantageous, because if it camouflages with the rock, then going where there's like grass and green foliage would make it harder for it to hide itself, and it would stick out more.
Yeah, and you could make a point of avoiding rocky patches, right? Like the landscape will be quite varied as you go, but you could just try to stick to the grassy. Now that it's spring and all the grass is coming up, yeah, it seems like that would be easier to spot in that kind of terrain.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good. So stay on the grass. Do you have any thoughts about this, Muirin?
I like the thoughtful planning, and I appreciate avoiding those worms.
Okay, well, let's have, I guess we can, real quick, take a moment to decide how the party's organized in terms of, just as a default setup as you are traveling through the wilderness here. I think between Miran and Taimi, you guys are probably the best scouts. Well, Taimi's not a great scout.
It's a real marvel that she's a good hunter.
He's really lucky.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and she's really yeah, right. She's really, God, she is really lucky. 17 luck. Wow. So it seems like the best scout is Muirin. So would Muirin be okay with sort of leading the party? Okay. So we got Muirin, and then most of the gang can kind of be in the middle. Is there anybody who should bring up the rear?
Who would take up the rear?
Yeah.
I can do that for now.
Okay. So we'll put Paviki in the back, and then the rest of the gang will just sort of be roughly in the middle there. Taimi, Durban, Anika, and Topias.
In Durban, right?
Yeah, so that's 6 of you total. Heading out. Okay, is anybody over, like, does anybody need to offload any stuff onto your traveling companions? Yeah, what do you need to offload?
I've got a couple pounds of stuff. Maybe I can give some like a weight's worth of food to Topias.
Okay, sure.
And how about a hatchet too?
Yeah, he's got a knife, so if you've got a hatchet to spare, that would be great.
Yeah, I'll give him a hatchet.
Okay.
And now I'm down to my weight limit. Got so much stuff.
Loaded up. All right. So now we're gonna roll to set out. And I'm gonna mark on the map, on my little private map here. And am I right? We're going overland instead of along the river, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. All right, so let's see how this first day of travel goes. Why don't we have, we are in Whirl this one. So 2d6, this is an unsafe area, so that means you add 1 to your roll. So 2d6 plus 1.
Okay. 7.
Okay. And then, Taimi, will you roll 1d6, please?
Nice.
What's that?
A 5.
5. Okay. About I guess you guys pause for a midday repast on the shore of one of these tarns, one of these small lakes. And shortly after you get back on the road, or the not lack of road, you get back traveling, Weirin, you spot a curious, you're sort of going down low between some of these rises, like we see in this image here, and silhouetted against the sky on a kind of ridge not too far away is what looks like an arrow, the silhouette of an arrow. And you cautiously make your way over to it, and you find the carcass of a Highland hawk, which is this very common kind of hawk that has mainly a white body with red or orangish brown markings along it. And there's a pretty good sized hawk that has been struck with an arrow. And when you get close and inspect it, you see that the arrow is clearly of elven make.
I'd like to carefully remove the arrow from the body.
Will you roll luck to see if it, you'll have no problem removing it. Roll luck to see if the arrow is still usable.
Oof. 6.
Oh. So maybe when the hawk like hit the ground after falling, the shaft broke. So you sort of work it loose, and the head's embedded completely in the body, so you're sort of gently kind of tugging at it, and the shaft comes out super easily, and it's sort of snapped off 2 inches from the head, so the head is still lodged in the body. What is it about it that makes you so sure that it's an elven arrow? What is it about this arrow's construction?
I think it must be the material. It's super light, and then maybe does it have a certain kind of, maybe it has certain kind of that ending with the feather thingy at the end that has like a signature, like
the style of the fletching at the end.
The fletching, the shape of it has like an art the like the signature of an artisan from an elvish
like one that
culture.
you've seen before.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, yeah, so there's that. And Taimi probably notices that there's something unusual about and beautiful about this arrow, if Taimi recognizes beauty.
This is the craftsmanship of this arrow is extraordinary.
I wonder if they were hunting, or they intended to truly kill this hawk.
Would you tell us that it's that you think it's an elvish arrow?
Yeah.
Is it common amongst your kin for hunters to leave their quarry on the ground?
No, it's it makes me think maybe someone who wasn't elvish shot this arrow for do we know, can we see how long the carcass maybe has been on the ground?
Yeah, Taimi can certainly tell. It's this happened less than a day ago, because scavengers haven't really gotten to it yet, which is surprising. But it had to be recent, else it would basically be gone.
And then the hawk doesn't have any other than its markings. It's just a regular hawk. There's no like
a good size so you take that, you keep that the shaft part?
I'll take it with
okay. The rest of the day is uneventful. It's sunny, kind of low clouds, breeze blowing through these valleys, and by the time night falls, you find yourself on the shore of one of these silvery mirror-like mountain lakes, and find a good spot to set up camp for the night. Is there anything particular about your campsite, like any measures you want to take, or any particular kind of place relative to, if you just look at one of these lakes in the image,
Mhm.
Camping by the shore would, you'd have easy access to the water. Do you have any preference in terms of where you'd like to camp? Taimi, I'll ask Taimi that question.
Now, I mean, if there's the potential that there's like another hunting party in the area that has maybe gotten, elvish arrows through, possible nefarious means, I think Taimi's heckles are raised a little bit, that she would suggest a campsite that definitely by the water, but that has some other like kind of natural barrier so that we're not worried about 360-degree watch, like whether it's just like against a rock face,
Mm-hmm.
or like in a creek. Is that the word I'm looking for? Like a notch in the lake that would provide maybe like a little bit more of a natural bottleneck. It's just something so that we're not worried about like 360 degrees.
Okay, got it. Yeah, why don't you roll luck to see if something like that's around?
Ooh, that's a 5.
Whoa.
Yeah, so you will have to sort of, there's no good spot. It's all pretty open, and there's no tree cover. There's no rock outcroppings that would offer you that kind of cover. So you could either just lump it and stay put, or push on into the evening looking for a better spot.
I think that Taimi would be up for trying to find another spot until like the sun went down, and then she wouldn't want to keep pushing her luck.
Is everybody else cool with that idea?
Yep.
What was it? Sorry.
Taimi wants to push on at least until the sun actually goes down to try to find a better spot.
Okay.
Okay, then we are going to let Muirin's in the lead there, so we're going to let Muirin make a, I think, find answers, actually.
Okay. So if we fail luck rolls, there's no experience that we get, right?
That's right.
Okay. And find answers is a wisdom, or
you're trying to sort of sense, or you're trying to discern, in the landscape ahead as you guys leave the shores of the lake and push on. You're looking for a spot that will offer a better campsite. Yeah.
So 2d6.
2d6 plus your wisdom modifier.
Yay. I think that is 13.
Okay. Yeah, so you find just as the sun is actually, the sun's down and the sky's starting to darken, and thankfully Muirin has this kind of twilight and dark vision, night vision, that the rest of you are starting to hold on to each other to not get lost in the dark, and Muirin signals that she's found a spot, and there's it's like a little sort of a rocky embrace. There's an area where there's a tiny little stream that runs down, and it's a little bit raised up with sort of on 2 out of 3 sides. There's like a rocky wall, and then from that position you're actually looking sort of downhill back to the north. So it's pretty, unless somebody was coming from that direction, you'd be invisible. You'd be sort of hidden below the rocky surface there. And then you can make camp.
Yep.
So everybody needs to consume a ration, and Paiviki, if you've got a lot of food, right?
Yeah.
If you could mark off one for Anika and one for Tapias.
Okay.
And I will ask, before you settle into sleep, would anybody like to keep company with anybody else?
I'd be interested in keeping company with Paiviki.
Okay.
You want to arm wrestle?
Yeah, I do. And I'll show you. You know, in the hunt when you're like up in a tree waiting for some quarry or some prey to come your way. You know, you can play the game where you balance the arrow on your finger. So we'll play that game as well
To see who can do it longer.
Yeah.
And have a little. Okay, great. Are you guys having a campfire? The trade-off being warmth and light would keep away most wild animals, but would obviously you become noticeable by intelligent creatures.
Is it freezing out?
It gets pretty cold at night, but not freezing. No, at this point of spring, it's not terrible.
Timey would vote for yes.
Okay.
But that's just one.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. So if there's no objections, then so you guys, so you got the fire struck, and you were gathering. In fact, Durbin was gathering whatever dry wood he could find along the way as you guys were hiking. So you get a little. In fact, Durbin is the one who gets the fire going, and Paiviki and Taimi have their little friendly contest. So Taimi rolled. Do you have any bonds with Paiviki yet?
No.
Okay, then just roll 2d6 straight up to see how your socializing goes.
8.
So you play it out or summarize your conversation, and you choose one from the list below, which I guess, so it would be either you gain a bond with them or they gain a bond with you.
Would it be okay for us to like play it out and see how it goes?
Totally.
Yeah. Part of the arrow game is not just balancing, but then like also you're doing something with the other hand. You're like keeping a beat, and you're keeping the beat faster, which forces you to like kind of muscle your own body. And the faster you go is like kind of the mark of how good you are at it.
Like a dexterity contest.
Yeah. It's and there's like, if you're doing it not waiting for prey, there's like different little songs or little ditties that you sing while you're like beating your fist faster to try to keep the arrow balance and everything. But
yeah,
I'm teaching you the songs and stuff. But I noticed earlier, Paiviki, when we left Sanelma's, you looked really distraught. You looked like you felt like you wanted to have done more.
Yeah, it's hard to leave the village knowing that Elmeri now has his word keepers with him and not knowing what he's going to do. There's something about the look on his face when they showed up that made me fear for all of our friends. So I feel somewhat guilty leaving right now, but I think it might give us time to hone our craft and come up with a good plan. I didn't really like any of my other plans.
I wasn't fearful of the three of them. I think Elmeri is a fool and a weakling. And I think that the strength and courage in the three of us, let alone our friends and our fellow villagers, would have been enough to overcome the two word keepers. But what I fear is the shadow that lurks behind them.
Yeah, me too. I can't think of, at this point, a plan in which we won't have some sort of retribution for whatever we would accomplish. So the best plan, I think, is one in which we either appear somehow too strong to mess with, or too diseased to bother, coming back to, something like that.
I know that the brighter of a light that we shine, the darker the shadow. I worry that it's a problem at times that's beyond us.
Yeah. Well, who knows what we'll find. Just leaving the village feels good, and maybe we'll learn some things that we'll be able to use on our way.
I am not at times the most intelligent person. But I know enough about other people to know that my excitement in leaving the village might be perceived as abandonment. But I want you to know that you have my word that we will return.
Good. Yeah. And I think everyone in the village knows where your heart is. You're very well liked. You're almost as well liked as me.
I'm Taimi the hunter, or Taimi the dull. You're Paiviki the great.
I think that Paiviki knows that she will lose in the test of dexterity. So she's kind of like, oh yeah, this is great, but let's arm wrestle.
Yeah. Well, yeah, what's your strength? Let's do a strength.
15.
I'll 2d6 roll you for it.
All right.
Ooh, you won.
No, I don't know. I got a 7 with my +1.
Yeah, I got a 6. I rolled a 5 and I have a +1. So
all right. Just barely. Well, that's good. I think Paiviki appreciates having some healthy competition.
Yeah. Taimi was feeling guilty, and just needed to find someone to not act so cool in front of.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, our time will come. We'll give those guys what for.
Great. So, Taimi, would you take a bond with Paiviki, or other way around?
I would take a bond. Opening up connects me.
Okay. So that means if you're the one with the bond right now, that means that you can mark that bond whenever you help Paiviki to grant. Yeah. Just to be clear on that. All right, time to pass the night. Plus the safety of this region. So Donna, would you please roll 2d6 and add 1?
Can I actually ask a question?
Yes.
How long I chose for my advanced move, the poisoner one, the poisoner move.
Yeah.
How long do you have to wait before can I craft poison like every night or every time I make camp or something? Or?
Yeah, you can have it be an ongoing project. Like the one you tried to make last time, it was like a lethal. It was a really powerful poison that you were trying to make, and it was going to take a while. Are you still tracking that? Do you have that written down?
Oh, okay. Yeah. I guess I can't recall how that one ended up. I just know that I was unable to I was able to finish it. Okay.
Yeah, so you could totally harvest if it makes sense. If you can sort of explain how you get the ingredients and what kind of poison you want to make, you could totally be doing that while you camp. Yeah. What kind of poison would you like to produce?
I think it was similar to what we used to drug Isoma, which was some kind of toxin extracted from.
I think it was
what
stuff
was
that was like a mushroom from the woods, I think. Is that what
Yeah.
So we'll say you brought along supplies to work on that, and I think let's see here. Yeah. So the thing about that particular poison is that it's pretty serious. It's slow, so that was one thing that made it not as. It's fatal, but it's slow. So taking that into account, I'm going to see how long it takes here. So we got 40. Okay. So it's going to take 4 progress to make 1 dose. And you've already got the supplies. So if tonight at camp, you can go ahead and roll. It would be 2d6, and I guess it could be Dex for a delicate touch, or Wisdom for using your intuition.
Oh, okay. Even though it says I always succeed as if I rolled a 10.
Oh, because of your wait, that's the expertise thing?
The advanced move from
Poisoner. Yeah, will you read that to me? I totally forgot about that.
Yes. When you craft poison, you always succeed as if you rolled a 10+.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so then you craft. You've made 2 on a 10+. Mark 2 progress, and choose 1 from the list below. So and your options are: you would mark an additional progress, or regain 1 use of supplies that you've used. So you've basically, we'll say you had enough. We'll say you had 2 uses of supplies.
Mm-hmm.
So to make that roll, you would mark off 1 use, so you'd only have 1 use left. But if you choose the no waste result, then you would not have used up a use of supplies, if that makes sense.
Okay.
You want to do that route?
Yeah, we'll mark that one off.
Okay.
No waste.
Wow, Donna, you chose Poisoner.
I did. I was choosing between that one and the lucky one, and then I thought,
yeah,
I don't need it.
But so just for the game mechanics, since you already chose Poison as your tricks of the trade,
I did. So
you can automatically spend Cunning if you want to increase your roll too, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
She already rolls a 10 or higher just by being a poisoner, and increasing the roll past that wouldn't have any effect really. But you can spend Cunning on poison to do anything with the poison. It's not just making the poison.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
I think yes, and because there's actually quite a few ways to spend Cunning.
Yeah.
Not that I have much of it, actually.
I was just trying to get my mind around how all that might work.
Yeah.
So basically, you're like a master poisoner at this point.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's kind of awesome.
I might need to look
Just-
at that a little, but between being an expert, yeah, the expertise plus the poisoner move, you're basically guaranteed, like tomorrow night at camp, you're guaranteed to finish crafting your this slow, deadly.
That could be super useful and very fun to think about. Like just
Right.
about any kind of poison you want to make, we could, have in our arsenal of possible uses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure there's far more ways to make poison than I'm even like thinking about.
Yeah. Is it possible to? I wonder if it's possible at any time to begin reading the Rockworms of the Highlands book.
If you have it by the campfire, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can start to read that for sure.
Okay.
I think, after three nights, you'd make a roll to see what you learn.
Okay. There is that other kind of uses of books that I see in the marketplace, that it says like after you read it, you could potentially get a +1 to know something if you put it into use.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, you have basically, as long as you have time to refer to the book, you can get the bonus from that. You can mark a use to get that +1.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like if you run into a rockworm, and you actually tell us, you've been reading this book every evening before bed, then that would be legitimate. You could say like, I'm going to use a use of the book to get +1 for this roll or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, as long as we can rationalize it within the fiction, then that's fine.
Right. Well, since they're in the Highlands now, she's all the more eager to see what it says.
Okay, so we're passing the night. And Donna, would you roll that 2d6 and add 1?
Yes. Ooh, 5.
Oh.
Oh no.
Unexpected. And then Jan, will you roll 1d6?
6.
Okay. Okay, so nothing actually happens during the night. Something's going to happen. It just doesn't happen during the night. Everybody wakes up in the morning, and nobody's injured, so nothing happens there. And everybody kind of loads up and is getting ready to go. And to go, you, I guess Mirren's first. So Mirren, to keep going south, you sort of have to climb up out of this little rocky embrace that you guys camped in. And you're the first one. So you, you sling your bag or whatever. And you, do you have like a staff or a walking stick of some kind?
I think I did. I think I had a spear.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you have a spear. So you kind of pull yourself up onto the top of this hill that you guys are camping in the cleft of, and you take several steps, and then you realize all of a sudden that the rocks around you, there are about there's 5 kind of things that you took at first to be boulders, and then you freeze and you realize that the boulders have eyes, and one like closes its scaly lid on its eye and turns its head toward you, and you realize that these must be rockworms. So if you picture like a legless alligator kind of coiled up in a heap, with like a and that looks so much like a rock that it's really just the eye that clued you into it, and one of them sort of turns its head slowly towards you. What do you do? Everybody else is behind you, in still down in the crook.
So I see it first.
Yeah, nobody else has even seen it yet because you're the first person in the marching order.
Can I sense how fast they move?
Sure, fine answers.
Or okay,
You trying
because
to?
that's not something I would have talked to Tiny about before that. So plus my wisdom, right?
Yeah.
14.
Yeah, they're like the opposite of elves.
Oh yeah.
They're like maybe they can do like a really quick lurch at something, but your immediate sense is that they're quite slow.
Okay. I will very quietly and non-threateningly back up towards the group and sort of signal to them that I found something and to sort of stop, and then maybe I'll signal. Maybe we have a signal for rockworm, or can they hear? Do I know? Can I know that if they have listening?
You can't tell. You don't know. So you quickly and quietly just retreat. Is that right?
Yeah, to warn the others.
And make it clear that everybody's in trouble up there. Okay, we're gonna check the reaction of these things to you doing that. So roll 2d6 plus nothing.
Okay. It's 5.
You got a 5?
Right, plus 0. Yeah.
Okay, so you step back and you're like, you give one little look over your shoulder and gesture, and then they all turn and like lurch towards you, like so they're all of them just kind of like swarming towards you across the rock.
I think I can jump back towards my group faster. So
okay, so
I'll just really.
Are you basically making a run for it and telling them to run?
Yeah.
Like, hopefully, the idea being speed will get you well out of reach of these creatures.
Yes.
Can I try knowing something?
Well, right now, Paiviki sees Muirin turn and tell you guys to stop, and then Muirin's making a run for it basically, but Paiviki hasn't seen them yet.
Oh, okay. I thought I saw them coming like over the.
You will in just a moment.
Okay, got it.
I guess everybody is gonna react to. Jan, will you roll 2d6 to see how Topias reacts for me?
Topias gets a 10.
Okay. So Topias, Durbin, and Annika are all following Muirin's lead. So they like they pause and they turn and they start to scramble, and then as Paiviki and Taimi are standing there for 1 second more, you see the heads of several of these things appear at the above the wall of rock.
Yeah, Taimi beeps it.
Okay. I was gonna give some sort of advice, but probably the advice at this point that I would give is get out of there. But
How many of them are there, Jason?
5.
5. Okay.
Yeah, I guess running is a good idea.
Okay. I think of all the people in the group scrambling down the rocks, the person most likely to stumble and fall is actually Durbin. And I'm going to say, just in terms of NPCs, that Paiviki will make rolls for Topias. Taimi will make rolls for Annika, and we'll have Muirin make rolls for Durbin. So Donna, would you please roll? Durbin's gonna. This is to roll to see if Durbin stumbles and falls on the way down the rocks.
All right.
3d6 plus nothing.
Okay. Oh man, 5.
Okay. So everybody's making their way down. I think Paiviki hesitated the longest, and Durbin has his pack on, and he slips, and his pack he hits the ground, and his pack hits him in the back of the head, and he sort of gets caught between two big rocks. So his pack is jammed between the 2 big rocks, and he's trying to get up, and he's kind of stuck there. And Paiviki is the closest person to him.
Okay. Can I try to know something?
Sure.
I would say that Paiviki read in the book last night that the rockworms are pretty much deaf, but they hunt by motion, and so when they see things moving quickly, that's when they strike. So Paiviki shouts to Durbin to freeze or stop in
Venati.
In Venati, the word for stop. And she kind of like phrases. Anyway, that'd be my attempt to know something. If you was to judge by that as a possible.
That's totally legit. Know something has been replaced by establish or find answers depending on the context, and right now you're establishing.
Right.
You're saying that you read this thing, and you can mark a use of that book to get +1.
How many uses do these books have?
The basic use is
2.
I'm going to say 3.
Okay. And should I roll something then?
Yeah, you're going to roll. It's intelligence.
Okay. So I got a 10 plus 2, maybe plus 3 if I read my book correctly.
Okay. Yeah. No, you totally did. So you tell him to stop and not move. And you do the same?
Yeah.
as everybody else scrambles down the hillside. Yeah, so the after they kind of tumble over the rock wall and hit the slope, then they start to squirm and make their way down across the rocks, and they go right, like one of them just like actually rubs right up against you. One of it, this big, rough, scaly hide rubs right up against you, and Durbin's like stuck below. His backpack is up between these two rocks, and he's stuck on the far side of it. And one of them kind of climbs. It hesitates for a moment, like on top of the backpack, basically right above him, and then drops down across the front of him, hits the rock, and then continues. They continue to slowly worm their way down the hillside. All 5 of them pass you.
So then I'll just wait until they're a little farther away, like out of sight to us. If there's any way that we can sneak away once they're gone.
Yeah. You can totally. There's enough. They get far enough away where you think that it's pretty safe for you to head back the other way.
All right.
And then circle around to meet your.
Yeah. So
you see, by the time you guys, so you wait a significant amount of time, and then you get up and you look, and a good 400 yards away, you see your companions still kind of like pausing and looking back to make sure that they've outrun.
Right. We could have been eaten.
And then there's some, signaling, and you guys are able to regroup shortly after that.
Yeah.
Luckily, they're very slow.
Yeah. This book is really helpful, actually.
How did you slip by them, Paviki?
I thought it was going to be boring. Well, it says they only hunt by sight, so I didn't have time to pick Durbin up. So they just crawled right over us.
The book told you that?
Yeah, books are useful. See? Well, never mind. It's in the book. You can learn things.
Mental note.
I believe there's a useful book attached to Taimi's shoulder, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're setting out on the next leg. So this time around, we'll have Taimi roll this +1, 2d6 +1.
Ooh, 13.
Nice. So you complete this leg without incident. Consume the and the judge may offer someone the chance to keep company. Mirren, is there anybody you'd like to keep company with during this day's journey?
I'm interested in chatting with Durbin.
Using what Venati you know to try to converse with him?
Yes.
Okay. About anything in particular, or just general chit chat?
I think I'm interested to see if how he feels about going back to his home, or how he feels about adventure in general.
Just trying to get our little friend up here. There he is.
I'll be back to the sec.
Okay. Sorry, say that again. I missed what you were going to talk to him about.
Just how he feels about heading back home, and what he feels about adventures now.
Okay, great. Roll 2d6.
Okay. So plus nothing, right? Or
Yeah.
6.
You got a 6.
Yeah.
Well, you get an XP.
Oh, in anything or
If you wanted to burn a luck, you can knock that up to a 7.
what would I get the XP in?
The XP would be
Oh, just my
straight up XP.
general.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I'll burn the luck.
Okay. All right. So you're like, he comes up with you. You know, you sort of start to make basic conversation with him, and he puts in the extra effort it takes to kind of keep up with you near the front of the group. He's worked up a little bit of a sweat, and he says, let's see, what does he sound like? I don't know how long I've been away. The seasons are different here. I who knows how long it's been. But I can't wait to see my family again. I'm very grateful that you and the other whiteskins are taking me home. I cannot thank you enough. So you get a bond with him, or he gets a bond with you. It's up to you.
The difference is that one of them is helpful when I act. His bond is helpful.
Yeah, it's a little confusing. If you have a bond with Durbin written on your character sheet, then when Durbin does something, you can mark your bond to help him with a +1. And then if he has you on his, in this case, his notes, he can mark a bond with you to help you do something.
I will add the bond to my character sheet.
Okay. So around midday, you guys reach, you top a rise, and the entire landscape just drops away from you. It's like you've been going along on one level in these highlands, and then it's like the whole landscape sort of falls off a cliff and spreads out before you, extending away into the distance. Down some really they're not sheer, but there's like some serious cliffs and rock faces descending down. And from up here off to the right, which you imagine, you're pretty sure is to the southwest, you see a great dark wood, a dark forest stretching out to the right, and beyond that forest, kind of running north-south, are the sharp edges of a mountain range. And then to the left, to the almost sort of by the position of the sun, you're guessing sort of due south. You see the reflective surface of a large body of water. And then so the landscape drops off where you are, and then it proceeds to sort of step down several other times, kind of into the distance, until things become indistinct in the distance. And you successfully clamber down. It takes a good several hours just to get down from the level that you're at to this next level of terrain. And you make your way across kind of a combination of rocky and grassy rolling landscape. until evening falls, and you are able to make camp on the shore of this pretty sizable lake. From where you are, you're not sure what it's fed by. You can't see. It would take a fair amount of exploring to see what water source is feeding this lake, but it might be the little river. It might be the river that flows south from Rayuna, but you're not sure. And you're able to set up camp. Are you going to look for a similarly safe spot? Is that Taimi's desire?
Yeah, and I guess making extra sure. I guess I would ask Durbin through Weirin, is this familiar? Is this territory known to you? Or are we still in a place that you're not familiar with?
Yeah, he's never been. He doesn't recognize any of this.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's totally unfamiliar to him.
Then yeah, find some place where we're not having to defend all four sides.
Okay. In that case, I guess instead of get lucky, I'll have Muirin find answers again to see if you can find that kind of spot.
What?
That would be,
Back.
yeah, wisdom.
This is 9.
9. When you reach the shore of the lake, there's nothing in this immediate vicinity that will do the job, but you can tell by the landscape sort of further back up to the north along the lakeshore. It looks like it gets rockier and there's more kind of unevenness to it, so you might be able to find a similar kind of defensive fold in the landscape, but you'll have to essentially backtrack for a while to get into that area. So what does Taimi think about that idea? Losing some time to find a safer spot.
I'm comfortable with that.
Okay. Everybody else cool with that? Okay, so you make your way back along the lakeshore. By the time night falls, you actually you hear this rushing of water, and you reach a point in a kind of lightly wooded area where there's a number of kind of rocky depressions where a river spills into this lake. So you found one of the inlets, one of the waterways that feeds this this lake, and there you're able to set up camp. So everybody consume a ration, and if Paiviki can mark 3 extras for our 3 traveling companions.
So can I mark off the ones that Topias is carrying?
Yeah, so that was 1 weight worth of food.
Yeah. So between me and Topias, we're down to 3 food. How are the rest of you guys doing?
Like three food period. Oh wow. Taimi has 5 food.
Same.
So if there's 6 of us, we have 2 days of food left.
Well, you know, it would have made sense for each one of these guys. There was plenty of food in the village.
Yeah.
So it would have made sense for each one of these guys to have a good a share of rations. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark that as you've already done. But you have each one of the 3 of these guys has a week's worth of rations. So
Okay.
You should be fine, because they would have loaded up before they left the village. Okay.
When it says rations on the chart, like provisions,
Yeah.
it says 5 uses.
That's changed to 7.
Oh, okay.
To a full week's worth.
Okay. So now, yeah. So I would actually have a couple more. All right.
All right.
Is that still is all 7 rations still 1 weight?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Pass the night, unless anybody wants to keep company, unless there's a particular conversation topic you got to get off your.
Well, can I finish my mushroom?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Okay.
You sure can.
Thanks. And then I'll do the no waste supplies.
Yeah, I think I have to rewrite the thing here, because basically, if you're a poisoner, that you can infinitely use these 2 uses of supplies that you have. So I have to figure out how to. That's a loophole that I gotta sew up.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess I didn't know that choosing poison as tricks of the trade gave you those supplies, or yeah, maybe it's just.
Yeah, I mean, I've never dealt with somebody being a poisoner before, so all we're doing is encountering the potential issues with that.
Right.
I'm going to say that once you finish your dose, you definitely use a supply.
Got it.
For now, right?
I had a question about crafting, but I don't know if we need to get into it right now.
What was your question?
Oh, just I was looking at it, and it looked like that's the wrong book. It looked like the more expensive the object was that you were trying to craft, the more expensive it became for you to try and craft it, to the point where it became more expensive to craft something than it would be to buy it.
Now I'm wondering if you're using the older.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. But we can resolve that question later.
Okay, that's fine.
It might be the older version of the rules. Somebody else pointed that out to me online, so I think I fixed that, but
okay,
I'm not sure. Okay, so you finished making your dose of poison there. Great. So make sure that you make a note of that. We don't have a name for that poison yet, do we?
Isumat's Bane.
Isumat's Bane. Yeah, that's right.
I like that.
Okay. Did anyone have an urge to keep company? How are Taimi and Anika doing on this journey together? Are they sharing a bedroll?
I don't think. No, I don't think that she's sharing a bedroll.
Okay.
She might have, like, on the first night, but maybe realized that, you know, if things go sourly between us, then it might make for a difficult journey. And so maybe, but I don't know how Anika responds to that, and I can't imagine that Taimi is someone with, like, the year of our Lord 2020, openness to, like, have, like, a frank discussion about that. So she might be starting to instill a little bit of distance for fear of, things going sour and it souring the mission.
Okay. I think you need to keep company with Annika to have that conversation,
Yeah.
right? to see how it goes. Like maybe they'll make your relationship stronger. Maybe it won't go so great.
Yeah.
So that's you don't have any bonds with her yet, right?
No, in on character sheet wise, no, I don't.
Yeah. Character sheet wise, right? Yeah. So just roll 2d6.
That's a 4.
Okay. So you get an experience point for relationship talk. She's just like, she's like appalled. Like, why do you think I came on this? Why do you think I came on this trip? Like, I left home so that I could be out here with you. And she's just like, no, I'm not gonna. No, we're sleeping together.
I thought you wanted to help. I didn't think that we're going to a faraway city with new people. This isn't some, frolic in the eastern woods.
Ooh.
No, it's a frolic in the Highlands. It's a frolic by the lake, but it's definitely a frolic. And you know this about Annika, is that she is she loves food, she loves like games of chance, and she loves your physical relationship. She's very into your physical relationship.
If something were to happen to me, would you have no reason to be out here?
No, I'm this is exciting to be away from the village, but if something would happen to you, then I would be very angry at whoever hurt you. This is exciting. This is I've been wanting to do this forever, and I've been wanting to do it with you.
I know. It is exciting, but I mean, what if you had been the one who had slipped back on the stones instead of old Durban? I had not the knowledge of standing still. I would have given you poor advice, and you would have gotten trampled or run through by those disgusting worms. You put too much faith in me.
She grabs you by the by this whatever like leather article of clothing you're wearing. She grabs you by that and she looks you in the face and she says, Taimi, I am not afraid. Being out here makes me feel alive.
Okay. That does it. That's Taimi's love language.
So when you roll a 6 or less, it says you must make amends on their terms before you can keep company with them again. So Annika will be open to keeping company with you again if you sleep with her.
Okay.
You don't have to do it, but that's what it's going to take to sort of reopen the possibility of establishing a bond with her.
Okay.
All right. And Paiviki, Jan, why don't you roll 2d6 plus 1 and see how the night goes?
I rolled an 8. Plus 1 would be 9.
Okay. Someone may offer a song, story, exhortation, or words of wisdom. Everyone who listens takes plus 1 forward to act on this offering, but their sleep will not be restful. And a lack of a restful sleep just means that you wouldn't be able to heal up if you needed to heal. Nobody needs to heal right now, so that's not really a drawback. But if nobody offers, does anybody have a song, story, or exhortation or words of wisdom to offer the group before bed?
I think we need an Elven song or story from from your travels.
So Paiviki gives Marianne a little friendly nudge.
Since we're all from the village, and as far away as we've ever been from the village.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe I'll tell. I'll tell about the first time I traveled far from home, and who I was with, and then what I learned, and hopefully the party is energized and excited to continue.
Does it take the form of a song, or is it a story that you tell?
It might be a song. Yeah, it could be a song.
Okay. And using your own experience the first time that you left home as a connection and example for, well, I guess Taimi and Paiviki have left home before, but for at least for Annika and Topias, Topias has left home. It's just like we're going out into the wider world from our home. Okay, great.
True. No one's been to this area before, so that's new.
Right.
Great. Yeah, so everybody gets +1 forward. That just means whatever roll you make next, whatever it might be, to act on this. And it's because this song is just basically about like going out into the wider world. It's pretty much anything that would happen out here as you are venturing forth. Okay, the rest of the night passes without incident. Day 3. And this time I'll have Taimi roll to set out after you guys break camp.
That's just 2d6. Is this still unsafe territory?
Oh yeah, good question. Let me check. No, we are now in dangerous territory. 2d6 straight up.
4.
Okay. Roll 1d6.
6. 6 piles of silver.
All right. All right, I'm going to ask. Wow. Everybody roll a d12, please. And Jan, what'd you get?
3.
Don, what'd you get?
John?
I still have to find it.
Yeah, John, what'd you get?
Oh, 12.
You got 12. Okay.
Well, that's still better.
I got a 4.
Okay. And everybody do that again, please.
8.
8. Whoa. Okay. Donna.
9.
Got it.
Same 9.
And again, these D12 rolls are creating something.
1.
Donna.
8.
John.
The same 8.
Okay.
Kansas.
Ooh. Wow. Okay. Okay, so you guys make your way along the shore of the lake. At this point, you think, so the sun has just risen, and you think that you're maybe heading a little to the west. You want to be heading south, but the lake is kind of keeping you from really, you'd have to strike out across the lake to continue heading south. As you make your way along the edge, the landscape is rocky. There's really no trees. There's low brush. There's a growing roaring sound, which you take to be the sound of falling water. And as you hug the shore, you top a rise and find yourself on the edge of a cliff. So as I mentioned before, this landscape is sort of dropping down in these stages. And here you are at the edge of another one of these great drops. And from here, as you're at the edge of this body of water, the water cascades over this cliff and just drops a huge distance. And it's a really, really broad waterfall. Like it might be from where you are looking across the lip of this cliff, the waterfall might be up to like half a mile wide, basically, like falling in these crazy broken cascades across this rock. And yes.
So it's the lake is falling down, or water's falling into the lake?
Lake's falling down. The lake reaches the edge of this cliff and then falls over the edge.
Oh yeah.
So this great, huge curtain, like nothing like you guys have ever seen before. And so much water that below you it's just mist. You can't see whatever it is that the water's falling into. In the distance, through the mist, you can see some fir trees. Like there's a forest over there, but it's just this great kind of clouded veil that you're looking down into. And in order to get down into it, you're going to have to pick your way along these this series of cliffs that descend there. And that is going to be I think the person with the least good climber is the person who's going to have to roll to see how they do going down here. What's the lowest dexterity out of you guys? Just the three of you.
I've got a 10.
Okay, well, I'm going to have, then Paiviki's going to roll to see how this descent goes.
Okay. I wonder if we want to take any precautions before we go down.
Yeah, please feel free.
I'm not sure what that would be.
I have 50 feet of rope.
Yeah. I've got some adventuring gear, so I could produce some more rope probably if we needed it, but we could do the old thing of like tying ourselves together or something like that. I don't know. It always seemed a little silly, but
Is there any points of respite on this climb, or is it we would have to be like in straight descent for however long?
It's not like a sheer cliff. It's like a series of little drops. So like, and you can actually kind of, it would be safe for some of these things to be on a rope, but they're actually climbable.
Yeah.
And it's basically a series of pretty wide grassy ledges that you would get down to, and then you descend to the next one and descend to the next one. So there's no place that you can see, although it's quite, as you're descending into this mist, it's quite, you're not really sure what you're in for, but it looks like you can, it's short trips between these ledges.
Yeah.
I don't think the tying ourselves together is a bad idea in that
Oh, yeah?
way. I mean, if it's not like, if we're not like climbing down a vertical surface and like we're just gonna domino effect each other off, we
So
could have.
there'd always be these ledges as kind of anchor spots in case.
Yeah.
You think we should?
Yeah, I think it sounds like a good idea.
It's a good way.
Or we could alternately have somebody wait at the top of the ledge and then hold a rope while the other people climb down if they need to grab it.
And do that in a series of like, go to the next safe spot, drop the rope, and then repeat.
Yeah. Does either one sound better to y'all? I mean, maybe Taini could wait and come last since she's the best climber.
Yeah.
Because you're strong, you mean?
No,
She's strong and she can climb down without anybody holding a rope for her because she's so nimble.
Yeah, we can keep doing it in stages where our Taimi stays at the top. Belaying, is that the rock climbing turn?
Yeah, I think belaying is from below. But yeah, anyway, yes, you'd be securing the rope.
Yeah.
Letting people descend.
Having people go down to like a certain ledge, go down to that ledge, and then continue that process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good plan. So I guess this is a really big descent. So I'm going to say we'll have Paiviki, and then Tapias, and then Durbin. There'll be three different roles in stages here in terms of people who are least competent at the climbing part. So Paiviki rolls first.
Okay.
So it's saving throw with dexterity.
I rolled an 8.
Oh, you do it, but there's a catch. What's in your backpack?
All kinds of crap. So much stuff.
What's like the smallest, slipperiest thing in your backpack?
Oh, well, I've got this strange egg that I rolled when I originally rolled up the character.
Oh yeah. Huh.
That could be, or the bracelet, maybe the silver bracelet. But
okay, you're descending. Taimi's secured the rope up above, and the rock face is slick from all the mist from the waterfall, and you go to get purchase on one little foothold and slip and swing sideways and kind of roll on the rope, and your backpack rolls against a kind of edge of rock, and there's like a sound as the egg breaks inside your backpack. So now inside your backpack's pretty messy because of that, and you guys make it to the next spot. So do you want to clean out your backpack?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
So you open it up and you pull out the stuff. Would anything have been wrecked by that egg breaking?
Yeah. I had taken some paper and a writing kit from the cave.
Oh, okay.
That could get ruined, or maybe one of the books. I'm not sure.
I think that the you know, you get all you pull it out, all the goop,
Oh.
and
How
it's a
big
good.
are we talking? Like,
Yeah, the egg was like that, yeah.
And-
Ostrich egg size.
and was it like yolk and white, or was it just bubbly green goo?
I was
It was, yeah. Go
I was
ahead.
imagined it was like a strange egg that I found in the woods one day, and was had never known what it was.
Yeah, right. It looks very similar to what we think of as an egg, except throughout the white are a series of green little blobs or dots,
Oh.
almost like frog eggs, you know.
Yeah.
Sort of throughout the white. So that's all. So you're just kind of gooping that out, and as you're doing that, I'm going to say that the book is probably, you pull the book out, the book's shut, so you can just wipe off the gunk.
Yeah.
The paper, the parchment, or writing supplies. I wouldn't say they're wrecked, but you would need to like really clean them and dry them out before they're useful again.
Okay.
So you're dealing with all that, and then Muirin. So everybody's on this same ledge. Taimi has descended, has the rope, and Muirin, you're looking out. Now you guys are below the top of the mist, so visibility is limited. But Muirin, you're estimating you can see maybe 100 yards into the mist out ahead of you, and there's an enormous shape about that far out, but at the limit of your vision in this mist, an enormous, just like it's an obscure dark form. You get the brief impression of maybe like hunched shoulders and some kind of head moves through the fog and then disappears. And it is at the scale is its head would be the size of somebody's house back home.
Jeez.
Oof.
Like that's the size you're looking at here.
And this is beneath where we're going, or
so you've at this point descending down this cliff, you've probably gone down 100 yards. You don't know where the ground is. It's down there somewhere in the mist. So if you picture going from the top of the cliff, you've gone down the length of a football field, and you're on this ledge, and you're looking out, and at your eye level, that distance into the fog, this shadowy figure moves from one side to another, and then is not visible anymore. You're the only one that saw it. Nobody else was looking there. Everybody else was looking at the gross egg.
Yeah.
Ooh. And now it's gone.
Yeah. It's like it was passing, it was passing by at some distance.
Right.
Vika comes up to Mirren and is like, "Look at my Can you believe this? It's disgusting." What's wrong, Mirren?
Yeah. Oh, have you read anything in your books about giants, I guess, in this area, in the Highlands?
Wow.
Maybe it was a trick of the fog and the light.
Can I? uh, how could I play this? Could I know something about a giant or giants?
I don't think you would. Well, I mean, do you have any of those books have a title that might apply?
Well, there's I've got rockworms of the highlands.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's possible maybe they could mention something else about other creatures in the highlands, I guess. There's phantoms and warriors, and there's songs of darkness.
Yeah, I don't think you know anything about this
Okay.
creature.
You mean like a giant rockworm?
I mean, I didn't get a good sense of the body other than it was enormous.
What was?
I saw a shadowy figure just move like right over there. It went from there to there.
The Paiviki starts looking.
You
It's gotta be quiet.
what did you say? Durbin like pulls at your cloak.
Have you heard of giants in this area?
Giant Pani da Dainta. Pani da Dainta. Oh, I know where we are.
Oh no.
where? What do you know?
The home. I've never been, but stories say the waterfall is home. The wall of water is home to the Pani de Dainta. It is huge. It will drown you. It is made of water.
Wow.
Must we go this way?
We probably don't want to disturb it, I think.
He's familiar with the home of this creature. Does he know another way to go?
I've never been here. I've only heard stories of this place. When I saw the water fall over the cliff, I thought it could not be. But if you saw this large thing, it may be the giant of the water.
I think we might want to find a way to avoid it.
Is there anything that you've heard that will work? Has anyone ever tricked the giant or appeased it somehow?
Roll luck. Paiviki.
Since I leveled up, I got my +1 modifier back.
Yay.
Oh, I got a 10 + 1.
Whoa.
11.
Oh yeah.
There's a story of one of the Venati, a great scoundrel and thief who came to the home of the Pani Dadainta and was able to sneak into the waterfall itself and make away with some of its treasure. It never saw him. He came and went.
What sort of treasure?
the Pani Dadainta collects, I don't know the word in your language. They shine, rocks that shine.
Not the orb of mists.
The what?
Orb of never
I
mind.
do not know. Sorry, I'm looking up a name for the hero. Bajnik, the great thief Bajnik. There are many stories of his exploits. He doesn't know the word exploit. many stories of Bajnik.
How do we know how did he get past the Pani Vaidata Danta?
Venati are small and clever. Bajnik could hide from even a hunting wolf. Even the riding goats of our village could not find Bajnik with their great noses. He was clever and sneaky.
Paviki kind of like looks a little bit self-conscious, being really tall and not particularly sneaky. But that treasure does sound interesting. But 6 of us probably wouldn't have much of a chance. Kind of looking around, I kind of glance over at Topias, sneaking. But maybe some of us could. Well, if there is a treasure to be found, what do you think? And Paibiki's kind of like looking around at everybody like, giant's treasure.
If you had asked me 2 weeks ago whether I thought a giant that drowns people and lives behind a wall of water existed, I would have said no. But after seeing The Magician, the caves, and the beast, I believe it. And if I believe the creature, then I believe that there's treasure.
Paviki has a disturbing glint in her eye. She's like, oh, well, maybe we should take a look.
I might not be as small as Venati, but I'm very quiet. I'm very. I can move. I can move this treasure like a beast on the hunt. I'm pretty self-confident.
Topias is kind of looking at you and just kind of like, huh? He's trying to figure out how to feel. He's not looking scared, but he's like, he's kind of trying to wrap his head around this new idea you're talking about. And Annika is like, totally down for it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the alternative is we go back up the wall, and when we were up there, obviously we kind of got a sense like, okay, we have to go this way to get to Salt Wall. Would it be this like incredible detour to not just continue down and then we keep going to Salt Wall?
You're not sure of the greater landscape, but you would, if you want to avoid this, this misty valley that you're descending into, then you imagine that you would have to either go along the cliff far to the west, where it looked like it met up with this dark forest. So that would be, you would estimate like a day or two out of your way to sort of circumvent this, or you would have to find a way to cross the lake itself and go down on the far side, perhaps. So either way, it might be another day or two.
Both options waste time and bring us towards more unknowns.
Yeah, that's true. And everybody is pretty much soaking wet at this point from just the mist. So you're drenched.
Well, we can at least make our way down and see what we can find.
If anybody sees any shape in the mist, give 2 snaps. So we don't make too much of a scene.
Maybe we can hide ourselves. And Paiviki looks around. Is there any kind of like natural vegetation or,
up on this ledge?
Yeah, like mosses or shrubs that we could adorn ourselves with. Look more like the natural landscape.
There's big ferns. If you picture like Mesozoic ferns, giant.
Yeah.
Up here on the, there's a spot or two where there's like some big fronds that are growing out.
Yeah.
So yeah, on the cliff there's some, but not like enough to like camouflage everybody. But perhaps down on the valley floor there would be more.
Yeah. Well, I think we should all deck ourselves out as best we can, and pick up more as we go along the way, and add it to our. And just go very slowly. And if Moirin, if you see this thing again, give the signal, and we'll all freeze, and maybe. We'll be able to come off as a ferny rock or something.
So you're starting to gather sort of bundles of ferns.
Yeah, just like sticking them, tying them onto our packs and stuff.
Oh, okay. To actually.
Yeah, just to like
traveling house plants.
Yeah, stick them into our. Because if we're caught on the cliff, there's nowhere we can go. But maybe we'd be able to hide. Like Bashnik.
Okay, I get it. Awesome. Great. So then the plan is to continue descending, correct? Okay. The next roll goes to Durbin, and that is Donna's roll to make. To see how a Venati friend does on his way down.
6. Is there any modifier?
Not for this. He's not a climber.
Uh-oh.
Wait, can you extend your bond with him?
Yeah, can I help
Oh,
him?
you can.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, so mark that.
So I only had 3, or did I have only 1 bond usage, or did I end up with more than that?
You have 1. So what you do is you write his name, and
Mm-hmm.
you draw a circle next to it.
Okay.
So right now you have 1 bond with him, and that's that. And you mark that circle, and he gets +1, which will knock him up to a 7.
Whew.
And oh boy, but still, I mean, that's not a 6, but it's still not totally out of the woods. Yeah, so describe to me how Muirin. So what happens is he actually loses his grip on the rope and starts to slide. And Muirin's either above him or below him in the climbing order. So how does Muirin help him? How does Muirin basically keep him from just falling off the cliff?
Well, because I was worried about his skill at the beginning, I had like a safety rope
Just between you and
not
him?
situation. Yeah. So that in case he like loses his strength and like doesn't fall, he has like a backup a backup like a what's the word, like a line.
Just between the two of you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so he slips, falls. You grab the safety rope that you have with him. So he free falls, and then the rope catches him, and it yanks you on the rope, and he kind of swings. His momentum carries him down, and then when the rope catches, he makes a wide swing around, hits the cliff, and then he's just kind of like dangling freely from the thing, must be like attached to his belt, and he's kind of like holding on to that and trying to like and he's also got a couple of ferns sticking out, so he's like an amusing sight as he and you're looking down at him, and he's kind of swinging kind of freely below you. His hat falls off, and some food falls out of his backpack. And and he is shaken by that. So by the time you guys all get down to the next ledge, Durbin is just kind of stricken and panicked. His hair's all matted and wet. His hat's gone. He feels embarrassed, and he's a little reluctant to keep. I am not Bajnik. We are not Bajnik. So now the issue is that he's very reluctant to, and it's kind of tough because you've gone down pretty far now, and he's feeling very super anxious. And you're now at the point where below you in the mist you can see the tops of trees. So the floor of the valley is down there.
Is he using this? Is he using his indoor voice, or is he like starting to speak loudly when he's protesting?
Wait, sorry, say that again. It was a little. I couldn't hear what you said, John.
Is Durbin using his indoor voice when he's producing, or is he getting a little?
Well, the sound of the waterfall is quite loud. So in order for you guys to hear each other, there's a fair amount of yelling, just to even be heard when you're right next to each other. So you figure if the creature, whatever it is, has normal hearing, that it wouldn't be able to hear you over the waterfall. But Durbin is, yes, he's basically shouting.
Okay.
Paiviki tries to calm him down and, tell him, "We'll just rest for a minute. Just, we'll be okay." And she reaches into her pack and she hands him a piece of this red root that Teeny gave her when they were first heading south. That was supposed to, she said, if you chew it, it makes you calm. Which I think I had originally asked her if she had anything to feed to the beast, but she gave me that stuff.
Great.
And, I say, this, chew a little bit of this. I take a little piece too.
Okay. So you're trying to negotiate to get him to do that.
Okay.
So that is charisma, right? You got a good charisma.
Yeah. So I get a 9.
Okay, great. Oh, do it. But only if you concede something meaningful in return. Okay, so he says, Paiviki. So he's holding the root in his hand and he looks at you and he smells it. Paiviki, carry Durbin.
Okay.
Yes?
Yes.
So he chews on the stuff. And a short while later, he's calm. And for the final leg, he'll either be hanging on your front or your back, depending on how you want to do it.
I imagine he weighs a good bit. Can I hand off some of my stuff to?
Yeah. Tapias is ready and willing to carry any of your cast-offs. And in fact, for this last leg, Tapias is going to have to make the final roll here, and that is your roll to make.
Okay. Just 2d6 straight up?
Yep.
Rolled a 4.
So Tapias is below you. Timey's way up at Timey's on top of the last ledge holding the rope. See, Muirin was above Durbin, but now Durbin's on you. So Tapias is below you. He gets down to the next ledge, and he's looking up, and he takes a step back as he's looking up at you guys, and the ledge crumbles under his foot. And he topples backwards. So there's nobody there. Like, he was the first person down to that ledge. So you're watching, Paiviki, you're watching this happen. And I guess even Taimi can see, like, he's not so far away that the mist has totally obscured him. Taimi can see from a distance, looking past all the people on the rope. So Topias looks up like, I made it. And he takes a step back, and there's this, and he looks backwards, and then he falls back off the ledge. So make a saving throw for him to see if he can grab onto the ledge before he falls further. You get +1 to this roll.
I get +1.
Yeah.
Oh, well, he got a 4.
So 5.
That would be 5.
Ah! So you hear a, ah, and then he disappears.
Oh.
Now you're close to the forest floor. He might not be dead.
Right.
This was the last, the last leg down on the forest floor you'll be able to make. But he just falls out of sight, and that's all you hear is the sound of the roaring waterfall.
I hustle down to the next platform with Durbin and drop Durbin off, and then kind of
Topias, where's Topias?
lay down flat on my belly, like lunge down to like see anything I can see without actually falling off myself. I do kind of like a
Peering down.
Belly first.
Yeah, so it's all thick foliage and brush. So he fell into just really dense foliage. You'll have to get down there to see. I guess, do you hear anything? Oh no, wouldn't hear anything over the waterfall anyway. So yeah, you can't see anything. He's fallen into just really dense, ferny undergrowth.
Okay. But it's still like a straight down kind of situation. It's not.
Oh, this next little stretch you should be able to. Yeah, it's still like a kind of cliff, but it's very broken, and there's smaller footholds and stuff. So you should be able to get down without a rope.
Okay.
Without great risk.
Yeah, I guess Viveki will just start clambering down.
Okay. Muirin and Annika show up, and then Taimi brings up the rear, and Paiviki, so you get down to the bottom, and you're basically in the thick brush, so you step off the cliff, find your footing, and you're kind of pushing your way through, there's big frondy leaves dripping with water that you're kind of like pushing your way through, searching for him. Oh boy. Paiviki, roll to get lucky.
I should have left this job up for Taini. Lucky dexterous one in the party. I rolled an 8 + 1, so that's 9.
Okay. So you see his foot sticking out of the brush, and you run over and pull aside the plants. And he is holding his leg, and he looks up with a pained expression on you. Actually, when you come across him, he's like head towards you, so he looks up like up at you like this. He stops. He was like kind of crying out in pain, and as soon as he sees you, he like shuts up and tries to hold his shit together. So he's soaking wet, and his left leg is bent at a bad angle.
Oh. Huh. And we're kind of on a slope.
It's a low, yeah, it's like not a very steep, it's like a rocky, grassy slope, yeah.
Yeah. And is this the way down, basically? Is this like the next?
You're on, it's like off to your left now, or past Topias is the, because of the echo, you can tell that that's the surface of the body of water at the foot of the waterfall.
Yeah.
So you're basically on the valley floor now.
This is kind of where we're going.
Yeah.
So would the folks up above be able to follow our trail through the ferns and stuff?
Well, certainly Taimi could.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'll just stay with him and try to give him some of the red root.
Hand that over to him. How many uses of that stuff do you have?
Oh, I don't know. We
Pretty
never
useful.
talked about that.
Let's say you have 5 uses.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's like, oh, and as you're waiting for everybody else to arrive, he says, I'm sorry, Paimiki.
It's all right.
I've slowed us down.
I shouldn't have given you all this crap, and I start like pulling all the books and everything else that I've been ladening him down with over the day. It's my fault.
So the rest of the crew arrives in a few minutes.
Yeah. Moirin, have you had any experience dealing with this kind of injury?
Well, we can certainly try setting not personally, but yeah, I mean, we could put some I think we have some like poultices that might help numb the pain.
And you're gonna need to make a splint for him just to keep it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the leg doesn't. So it looks like we could sort of try to straighten a little.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. You're basically gonna have to like bend it back into place, like so it basically like broke sideways at the knee. So you're gonna have to pull his bones back into a straight line and then rig up the splint. Cut some branches and make a splint is basically what's gonna have to.
Yeah.
Do you think if I gave him like just like the tiniest amount of that like fungus poison, he could just get knocked out?
Ooh, yeah. You could.
Well, because it made Isel not sleep.
Yeah, right. So a little something to numb the pain. Well, you've also got.
Yeah, I could dilute it, right?
You've also got a bottle of the beet alcohol.
Yeah, I've got red cap.
Right, we could. Yeah.
The poison might be risky.
Yeah.
Right.
Although you are a poisoner and you do have poison expertise, so if anybody could do that, it would be you.
Right. Well, maybe he wants to be awake for.
I can take it. I can take it. Don't. Okay, I'll have some red cap.
I'll give him a swig of red cap, and somebody go get some splint material, and I've got some herbs and poultices ready.
Yeah, so Annika shows up with, she returns shortly. She had her hatchet and she's got some green wood that you can fashion a splint out of.
I'll give him a piece of wood to bite down on and then I'll jerk his leg back around.
Okay.
I just want to put out a note that Taimi is concerned about Topias, but is keeping an active eye out for a giant.
Okay. So Tapias is biting down on the thing, and the leg is cracked back into place, and you're like, he cries out as much as he can. But then it's over, and he kind of like collapses. And you hear a and Tiny sees what looks like two. They're like basically the two legs stride slowly through the water at some distance. Again, far enough away and obscured enough where you're just making out the kind of outlines of these two legs, but they don't, it's not like human legs. They move in a very kind of a very flexible kind of way, as if they were made out of as if they were vines or
Tentacles.
That kind of movement, but it's two of them, and it is like a stride. So and their legs just go up, they disappear out of sight. So it kind of strides
away
across your, not really it's kind of like laterally, but out of the mist and to one side, and then disappears into the mist from the other side, as if it was crossing the whatever the body of water is that whether it's a river or a lake that you're at the edge of. It's not coming towards you. And we're gonna break there.
Oh no.
Vicky doesn't know whether to abandon her doctor job to go look for treasure or not.
Very tempting.
Yeah. You just stay here. I'm just going to go look for some treasures.
I'll be right back, you guys. I promise.
This is one of those difficult times where I feel like John Shittergen, the person, like, would be gone, would be absolutely gone, would have taken the 2 days out of the way. But I have to remember, like, I'm a hunter in a fantasy world.
Right. Yeah. Okay, great. So we're wrapping up, reaching the end of a session. Alignment goals. Paiviki, what are you, chaotic?
Yeah. I don't think I disrupted the established order. I don't know if there's any other things that fulfill a chaotic personality. But
not so far, but I'm open to suggestions.
okay. Yeah.
I'm always looking for ways to word those, word
Yeah.
them as succinctly as possible.
Right.
Somehow, but it is hard. A lot of them don't have a lot of application from session to session. Weirin, are you chaotic also?
Lawful, so I don't think it's the opposite.
It's maintained order.
Right.
There wasn't really an opportunity to do that, I guess.
Right.
I'm thinking about when you retreated from the rockworms. You did sort of tell everybody. I guess that wasn't really maintaining order. There was no chaos there. It was just like, everybody, let's go, and you went.
Right.
And then Taimi?
Also chaotic. So no.
No, okay. Traits. Paiviki, definitely covetous. interested in that treasure immediately.
Okay.
Were there any other ones?
She's bold and she wasn't particularly selfish, I don't think.
Yeah, no.
Somewhat bold, but
Yeah.
you have to be a freebooter.
We're in.
I think so. I've focused, respectful, and ruthless, but I think Marilyn was pretty focused. Like seeing the dangers up ahead, and then also trying to be there for Durban as much as possible.
Yeah, and even just like being focused on finishing your poison too, right? Like you over
True.
several days you worked on that project. Great.
Mm-hmm.
So take an XP for that. Taimi is curious, irritable, and a cheater. Is that right? Do I have that right?
I haven't found a good point to be a cheater yet, but I guess I'm curious about the giant.
You were definitely curious about the giant. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yes. Great. Okay. Fighters. Did you solve a problem with physical force? Don't think anybody did, right?
No.
Thief. Did you solve a problem with stealth or trickery?
No.
Solve a problem. No. No trickery, right?
Mm-mm.
Okay. And then altogether, did you make an exciting discovery? There's giants.
Right, and the rockworms.
Rockworms.
Rockworms and giants. Everybody gets an XP for that. Did you overcome a difficult obstacle? I think going down that cliff, which put Tobias' life in jeopardy. Everybody gets an XP for that. And did you acquire some memorable booty? Not yet.
Mm-mm.
Giant's treasure.
It's out there somewhere. Maybe if the tales of what's his name? Bajnik. Tales of Bajnik are true. Okay, and then if anybody wanted to, we don't have to go over it right now, but if you know, this is also a place where you could shift traits around if you wanted to change up your personality a little bit.
I'm thinking about it, but nothing's jumping out quite yet.
Okay. All right.
John, what did you choose as your special move, your advanced move?
I chose. Good question. Where is my sheet? Oh, you know what? I didn't choose. Because I get favored weapon.
Yeah.
I think, even though I'm not currently wearing armor, I think I'm going to take second skin. So when I do eventually wear armor, it's worth more.
Okay.
With the only. Oh, never mind. No, it says right there. I was going to say with deflect blows, it has to be a melee weapon that you use to deflect blows. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't like block orange swipe with arrows.
That would be cool.
Thank you for reminding me, Jan.
Yeah. No, I'm just curious. I spend a lot of time just kind of poring over and wondering about those things, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah. There was something else. Yeah, shield weapon I was thinking about taking. And I think I need to play a little bit more to know whether Myrmidon is worth taking. Just to see like how our party acts in combat and stuff.
Oh yeah, right.
But also, I don't have a ton of wisdom, so.
Oh right, burning wisdom is maybe not the best. Yeah.
Although, Am I correct in remembering that my human special move is every time we wrap up, which is like what we're doing right now, I check off an ability?
That I believe is correct.
That okay. I'm slowly chipping away at wisdom.
Vengeful would be kind of cool for Tiny too, for an irritable hunter.
Yeah.
It's a kind of interesting one.
Oh, yeah, that is good. And I do have a fair amount of XP or HP.
Yeah, when you suffer, yeah. You're right. Imagine Tiny. Yeah, I already can see Tiny being very vengeful. I mean, Tiny is very vengeful. Like really wants to get back at El Mary. Really hates Onikus.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I had to hold my tongue when Paiviki said, you know, what, I'm kind of fond of him. Hey, team, I just wanted to apologize again for being late today. I'm really stressed out about a trip that I'm taking for teaching.
Oh, yeah.
I literally fell asleep here at my desk, like doing prep work. And then I woke up and I was like, it's 6:20. Oh my God.
Oh.
But I really like respect all y'all's time. And I don't know. I feel really bad.
Oh, don't worry about it. We just chatted and caught up, and I'm just glad that I was worried that something had happened. So I'm just glad that you woke up.
Just an unplanned table nap. Like some sort of high, like study, like some sort of anime character studying for the big test.
Aww.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Don't feel bad.
Yeah, don't feel bad at all. We're totally fine. And I hope your trip. I'm sure your trip will go great.
Yeah. Is it okay if I ask a like kind of behind the curtain question?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if this is like stuff that you want to record and everything, but like, we really rolled up like tentacle-legged water giant.
Yes, it did.
Wow, that's very cool.
I had actually, so for every region you've gone through, I made up a D6 list of, it's creatures, obstacles, hazards, and discoveries. So for instance, the elven arrow in the hawk was a discovery that I had preset. And for this region, I have only the bare bones for each entry because I didn't get a chance to flesh them all out. So for this entry, there were a few words, there was some basic info, and then I had you guys roll a bunch of dice to generate details that gave me a better idea. I had only the vaguest idea of what this thing was, and it was your die rolls that helped kind of flesh that out. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I didn't really, I was like, oh shit, you rolled a 6 for that. I was like, well, that means according to my thing, like that's a big, one of the keywords was legendary.
Oh.
I was like, okay, so that's what's happening now. Didn't anticipate that.
Right.
Is there any there's a thing that people do sometimes at the end of the session, stars and wishes, where a star is something that you liked about the way things went, and a wish is something that you would like to see happen in the future, or something that, it's like a nice way of saying roses and thorns, basically, right? So if there's anything that you guys, liked particularly about the way things went or the way other people did stuff, or anything that you'd like to see in the future, feel free to mention it.
I love traveling.
Oh, yeah?
That there's so much to do with traveling. And this might not always be the case, but I think that, well, I can't speak for everyone. I know that I'm like kind of really unclear of like what we're going to do when we get to Saltwall, meet new people, bring Durbin back into the fold and all this stuff. But doing this gives me a chance to kind of like readjust and like think about what that is going to be, while at the same time providing these like kind of miniature hooks that make it feel like a distance. And I really like that.
Yeah. it is cool being able to enter into sort of a wilderness, knowing that all of us, including you, Jason, don't really know where we're going, and being able to have some input into, you know, the shape of things is a neat, you know, kind of like side twist to the whole thing. I think in the, you know, a pre-designed adventure with all the stuff already figured out, sometimes there seem to be a lot of puzzles that are kind of annoyingly hard to figure out, you know, because they're already, you know, it's already designed, you know, so the answer is like yes or no, no, no.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nice to just like sort of imagine it all together, and you know, we're all just sort of using our best sort of imagination and combination of imagination and common sense to sort of figure out what what it could be, or what it feels like, or it's cool that way.
Good. I'm glad that you think so. Yeah, I really like not knowing what's going to happen next. You know, I did draw a map of the area you guys are going through, but I made these tables, but they're all very vague. So, and then it's just, I really don't know what you're going to run into and what you're going to do about it. Didn't know Tapias was going to fall off a cliff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that you can solve problems or come up with ideas for solutions, and then it happens to be like luck that sort of is a deciding factor in how effective it is.
Uh-huh. Yeah, there's a lot of luck involved, that's for sure. Okay, well, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
I don't think we have a next session scheduled, right?
Oh.
Okay, so I'll send out another poll.
Okay.
And we'll sort that out.
Excellent.
Great to see all of you.
Thanks.
John, good luck
Thank you.
with your teaching trip. I'm sure it'll be awesome.
Yay.
Yeah.
All right. Good night, y'all.
Good night.